Getting jazzy. Oh, I hate that.
It's broken. Just joking.
You broke the internet. Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross, and I'm the founder at designcuts.com, and this week I'm joined by my fellow Brit and hand lettering expert, Ian Barnard, and American retro design expert, Dustin Lee. I'm afraid Lisa isn't with us today, but she will, of course, be back soon. This week we share our ideas for how to use social media as a designer. We each compiled a list of actionable tips and ideas that you can start implementing today, and we dig into as many of these as possible in today's conversation. So without further ado, let's get into the show. So this week, we are going to be jam-packed with actionable tips and techniques for social media if you're a designer. I know we recently touched on the kind of wider mindset, strategy, that kind of thing. But if you remember, at the end of last week's episode, we resolved to bring you 100 social media tips if you're a creative. And this episode, I think we've pretty much just worked out this is going to be impossible to fit it in the time. So we're either going to rapid fire these or most likely go off on a random tangent.
Yes.
And then discuss each one, probably get about 18 done and call it a day. we'll see what happens.
I'm willing to bet you guys some hard money that we're not going to get past 10.
The pessimist in the group.
I just think we can't keep our mouths shut. Everyone's going to want to talk about their thing.
And wouldn't it be boring? Wouldn't it be boring if we just fired off tips with none of the brazen humor and banter that we're known for at this stage?
It's a good point.
Yeah. We might as well just have sat here and just did a list, like a news report.
Yeah, and coming up next, we've got Instagram TV.
And the dynamic's all thrown off because Lisa's not here. I feel like she brings like this joy and lightness to the show and alcoholism to the show, and that's gone. So it's throwing off the balance.
Has anyone got some red wine? Fill her shoes.
Oh,
unfortunately not. But yeah,
Ribena.
Lisa will be missed. You're right. She tends to giggle the most and smile the most. So for all you listeners at home, this is going to be an information-filled episode that is completely devoid of any kind of humor or levity.
Yes.
Or emotion.
We're right. keeping it dry as a bone, folks.
No emotion from the Brits. As an American, I will try my best to inject some humor into this. Haven't I heard? Wait, you guys are the stiff upper lip guys, right?
Oh, big time. Yeah, the stiffest lips.
Okay. Such a weird phrase.
I've never moved my lip.
Yeah, we're like ventriloquists over here in the UK. Anyway, this is the most nonsense we've ever talked. Clearly, Lisa keeps us in check. So shall we dive into the tips? What we're going to do, we've each prepared like 25 or so. Lisa, very kindly, she's super sick. That's why she couldn't make it. So feel better, Lisa. She emailed me her 25. So I am going to also read out hers. We're going to take it in turns, kind of flip between the four of us with me playing Lisa. I'm going to be doing an incredibly effeminate South African accent if I can. Maybe not. We'll see how much Dutch courage I can get.
But we don't want to lose our a South African audience.
Or indeed female audience. Or anyone with taste.
Or just our audience.
Right.
I feel like you're just like setting yourself up to offend some sort of person at some point.
All right, so how about this? Shall we go Ian, me, Dustin, me as Lisa?
I think that
Take it
makes
away.
sense.
Social media maestro that is Ian. Right, kick it off. So remember, social media tips for designers. We want to give you as many as possible that you can start implementing today on your social media strategy to get more engagement, more followers, more creativity, all that. So
okay, depending when you're listening to this episode, use Instagram stories to do a day in life of you as a designer and what that looks like. Give yourself...
Are you kidding me? That's my first point. We should have compared notes.
The problem is with us having 25 each, there's going to be some duplication, so there's not going to be 100. So we're going to have to come up with some new ones. You should have asked us to come up with 30 each for the allowance of overlap.
Thank you there to Captain Hindsight. Okay, that's a very good one. I'm going to move on to my second tip then. So it is share 3 random facts about yourself and encourage your audience to do the same. Point of this is you open up, you get personal. People can, you're more human in your followers' eyes. They relate to you more, and also they get involved and start kind of opening up and sharing stuff about themselves. I've done this. It really works. People get lovely and personal and builds community, feels good, and you get to know each other better.
Well, that's really good. That was actually my first one. So
Was it really?
No. That'd be funny though.
Are you writing? Is anyone writing these down?
I'm writing down the one that you just said because it's good. It's really good.
We're going to get them all into a PDF, I think, for the listeners. That would be pretty cool as a downloadable. But yeah, Over to you, Dustin.
Okay, so mine is stolen from Aaron Draplin, because we had Aaron Draplin on a few months back, and he said something that has stuck with me big time, which was he feels like there's so much litter on social media. People just throw out rubbish, as you say, in the United Kingdom. And he said, when I do tweets or whatever it is, I want to make sure it's something meaningful, something that people would actually want to hold on to. So don't litter.
So what should they post?
Go look at Aaron Draplin's Twitter account.
Okay.
I would say that would probably be the best way to do it instead of trying to say what he might say. I don't know what he would say.
Cool. So now I'm Lisa Glanz chipping in with her first tip. And Lisa says, share funny and quirky questions to ask your audience about design. E.g., what's your favorite font to work with right now? What color do you hate or love working with the most? What's the hardest corporate color combo you've ever had to work with? Stuff like that, just because people like to geek out over design and share their experiences. So Ian, back to you.
Right to me. Okay. You could just, if you're an illustrator or a letterer, you use a pencil, then you could do eraser drawings. So you cover a page with, you scribble on a whole page that's covered in graphite, and then you use an eraser to draw some pictures. So it's a bit of like a reverse sketching. So it's like one of those ones where people want to watch because they want to find out what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe you have this sort of face, that sort of appears, and you could put that into a series of stuff because that's quite quirky.
So is there something underneath that you're erasing to, or you're literally drawing with the eraser?
No, you're drawing with the eraser. So the white you're erasing, so you're appearing white of the paper.
Yeah.
Which is covered in grey black pencil.
Nice. I like it. Very creative. So my next one would be use the new Instagram story feature of Ask Me Anything so that people can send you questions. But also don't be afraid to do this on your other platforms. So Facebook, Instagram on your main posts, etc. Literally just encourage people to say, ask me anything that you want to know about my work or like how to do this type of art or creativity, and just try and help people.
Well, I never heard of this feature. There's an Ask Me Anything feature on Instagram?
If you swipe up on your stories, as in when you're posting a story, you can swipe up from the bottom and it gives you a list of options like to add a hashtag, to add a poll, like yes or no.
Yeah.
And one of them is questions, and you can add a question which then people can type into a box, and then then what happens is that when they answer questions, there's do you know that you can swipe when you look at your stories yourself? You can swipe them up, and it reveals the stats, as in how many people have viewed it, who's viewed it, if any interactions been done with that post, like replies.
Dustin, it really works well. And then what you can do is you can share people's questions answer them either in text form or you could do it on a video. So if someone asks you a question, you could literally do a video response, which you share publicly with all your followers and have their question kind of pinned on it. So it's really good.
Unless you're on an Android phone, it doesn't let you do that. You can only put a text response. I'm like,
oh, that sucks. So Dustin, over to you, man.
I have to say, as we're going through these, I'm feeling more and more inadequate. Because you guys are so good at this. Okay. So one that I found that worked really well for me was creating a series and marking it with an emoji. So for instance, on Twitter, I did like a series of some retro tips on the Retro Supply page. And like I would put a little, like, I can't remember if I put a lightning bolt or something else. And then I would have a couple tips. I did like 3 or 4 of them and they got more likes and shares than like anything I had done on it. And I, normally I share a lot of articles and different things we have on the site, but people really like these mini little tips, especially I feel like the emoji things made like the little symbol, like the logo for the series. Yeah, anyways, I treat it like a little mini series. That was fun and it worked well.
I like it. Smart. So Lisa's thing is share a video or image of your favorite tool in an app and why it's your favorite. So like if you love the pen tool, share that, and you'd be surprised, these little kind of personal things, they really do count as content, because then you get all the pen tool enthusiasts being like, oh my God, me too.
Pen tool buddies.
Exactly. Pen tool pals, if anything.
Pen tool pals. Actually, riffing off that one, you could do a series of quick tips, because like the simplest the better. Because there is stuff that I gained from just the simplest, from looking at a course, and there's like one tip that I'm like, oh, that is a game changer. And like Procreate shared one, which then I shared on my feed, about moving the bar where the sliders for your brushes size were. And I was like, for 2 years I've been looking for how to change that. And so go through stuff that you already use every day. So InDesign, Photoshop, and Illustrator, the big 3. Pick some things that like maybe you found out recently, or you found out and it completely changed your workflow, because there's so many people that use these products that they may not know that happens. So it's just the simpler the better, straightforward, like it might be a keyboard shortcut for how to place an image in InDesign. It might be stuff like that. It's little things.
I love how many parallels there are to other industries as well, because there's a personal trainer that I follow on Instagram, and he had a post get shared all over the place, because we get a barbell loaded with weights. Yeah. And if you've got quite a lot of weights on one side, it can be a real headache to try and like pull them all off the barbell.
Oh yeah.
And so his tip was, you get one of the weights, you like roll it up onto a smaller weight so it's elevated, and then they just slide off because you haven't got the friction with the weights on the ground. You know what I mean? So you've got this big cylinder of like loads of weights, and you basically roll that up onto a small weight to elevate most of them. And then they just slide off. But exactly the same principle. So obviously we're talking about creatives, but across so many industries, it's like, here's a quick hack, which will, save you frustration and time.
Hack is the, tip is old school. Hack is the best word now. Yeah. So like whether it's, you share a hack a day and call it hack a day, or it might be Peter's hacks.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, the thing is, what really works is consistency. So if you sat down and you went through 30 tips you could come up with, like small tips in any of those programs, and then you can line them up every day for the month, and then do it next month as well. Honestly, I got so much engagement from me just sharing that Procreate tip, saying, "Oh, that's a game changer, mind blown." And it was simple.
And we've talked about the depth of interaction, right? So instead of, you might get something that gets a lot of interaction, but it's just people liking, going like, oh, that's nice. Whereas on that, it would be like, oh, you've saved me so much time. You'll get more emphatic emotion out of people.
Where do you find, where do you share these mostly, Ian? Like, which platform do you find this works best on?
Two: Twitter and stories, Instagram stories. I used to share it on my main feed, but I've reserved like more finished stuff or for the main feed. So like really like little tiny things, like it's just like using a certain amount. It was like using 3 fingers and swirling around on the screen clears what's on the screen. And there's some people that like a ton of people didn't know that. I only found it out like recently, and so just even if it's something you found recently or you've been doing a course and something popped up, share that tip and maybe tag the person whose course it was, or just there's so many people that just use these programs and they haven't done any courses or anything like that, so they're just using it off their own back. And sometimes it's a bit, and it's all this the small tips that have changed my workflow to overnight to a much better, quicker process. And so, and if it helps someone, they're going to think, oh, how many other tips they're going to release that are going to be really useful? I'll follow that person.
Yeah, and it's a regular thing.
And then
amazing.
What you can do is take all those little tips. Sorry, this is like another tip on a tip. Is bunch all those together and make a YouTube video and call it the top 10 hacks for Illustrator, InDesign, or Photoshop.
I saw you do that. You did this one where it was like Procreate, and like you kept like prairie dogging in and popping your head in and being like, do this. And then, like it would show it on the screen, and then you'd be like, do this, and you pop out of the left-hand side of the screen. And I was like, I watched the whole thing, which I have a hard time watching you for like that long, but I watched the whole thing. And
that's a great idea there. And then put that on YouTube, put it on Instagram TV, put it on Facebook.
Can I riff another thing? Like,
he's hogging the mic now.
He can't help himself because this is
his world.
He's like
this is what I do
in this. It's like a beautiful mind, except for social media.
Okay. I've got 200,000 more followers on Instagram than I have on YouTube, or subscribers, whatever you call it. But I get more people, like companies or whatever it might be, organizations, all emailing, say, I saw your videos on YouTube. There are less designers on YouTube than there are on Instagram, if that helps, in terms of you getting content out there. And if you can be a consistent designer on YouTube, I think you can do really well, because I don't think it's not a saturated market. So and like doing stuff like that, there are a lot, and some of the designs on there are some really good ones, but a lot of them it's quite hard to listen to. They go on for quite a while. Being straight to the point, or having 5 tips, 10 tips, stuff like that works really well. So a little offshoot to
nice
that.
Solid. I like it. Let's maybe do like 2 or 3 each at a time. That might be a better way of doing it, actually.
Whoa. Just because he has so many tips in a row that are so great doesn't mean that everyone here does.
Put you on the spot, Dustin.
That tip wasn't written down. Like half of these
it's
ones,
just riffing.
I'm just like, just riffing.
Freestyling. Okay, so I would say respond to direct messages via video. That's something I started doing in the last few months, and I was amazed at the response. And people would constantly say, wow, I've never had a video response. Like, it really stood out to me. Often it would motivate them to start video chatting back. And you just really get to know the person much better than like faceless text. So I guarantee like so many of my followers started doing this. When I did it to them, they would do it with their followers. And then I'd start hearing back, be like, wow, my engagement's spiking. People are really loving it. So it works.
Most of the time when that happens, I'm like, I didn't realize you were Australian.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't realize you were a man. I've been flirting with you for weeks.
Yeah, especially if they got an icon for their profile pic as well. You're like, I didn't realize that, because some names can be quite generic, and so it's like, oh, I didn't know you were this or that or whatever it may be.
There's one guy, I can't remember what his icon is, but I don't think it's his face. And then I started getting videos from him, and he's got possibly the best beard of all time. Like the screen was like 90% beard in every video. And
you wonder why
it was such a great surprise. I was like, yes.
That'd be a great profile pic of just a beard.
Oh, actually, yeah. So this segues. I didn't have this one written down, but it just came back to me. So I think I did a video being like, send me a video direct message wherever you are on Instagram. And it was crazy. I had people in Holland, like in a field. I had a girl in like Grand Central Station in America. Just all these random locations. Thankfully, I didn't get like Barry from Blackpool in the bath or something. But it was...
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Is that where your mind went?
Yes.
Trust you to go straight to the
wherever
gutter.
you are, send me a video.
I'm in the shower. So yeah, my other one would be do a post spontaneously thanking your followers for following you. So you're not trying to sell them anything. You're not trying to get anything at all. There's no occasion. You didn't just hit a certain level of followers or whatever. You're literally saying like, it's a Tuesday afternoon and I wanted to do this post just to say I appreciate all you guys so much. Thanks for following me.
Sounds like so much work.
I guess if you have a heart of stone.
Okay, I just imagine Dustin going, I go, thanks, yeah, just thanks a lot for everything.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Or he starts,
so
just wanted to say a big thank. Oh, you know what? I can't be bothered.
Like,
yeah.
Thanks.
Just
No, I wouldn't do that. Okay, maybe I'd do that.
All right, Mr. Nice, over to you.
So one thing I have noticed that worked really well, and this happened because I did the daily drawing challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
I learned so much, probably more I learned about social media from doing that than anything I've ever done. But when I started doing that, I got something called Sprout Social, which is an app for managing social media. And it allowed me to see an inbox of all my comments from people on Instagram. And then I was able to reply to each person and type it on an actual keyboard as opposed to the phone, which saved me a ton of time and made me easier to write thoughtful responses. And that just brought more followers. I don't know why. It made people respond to more and more of my posts. And I mean, some people became really good friends. So find a way where you can respond to everyone. Ideally, the only way I can see that's practical to do it is to have some sort of thing like Sprout Social. I can't imagine typing 30 responses out to people on an iPhone. But
yeah, it takes a while.
If you're trying to respond on Instagram, you can use the pages, or you can use Facebook, because you can, if you're linked in with your Facebook page with your Instagram, the notifications come into there too, and you can reply on the keyboard, if that helps.
Interesting.
And you can do it through the Pages app as well. So you can...
and you just saved yourself $99 a month on Sprout Social. Sorry, Sprout Social.
Oh, sorry. He probably had like they probably paid him. He's probably like a man outside the door with a bunch of cash.
Yeah, don't think we haven't noticed you trying to get your little private sponsorships into
affiliate links in
show,
here.
Dustin.
I have. I'm very much like that. Very much like that. I have a lot of things I'm going to try to be sliding in here for a little extra cash on the side.
What's that? What hat am I wearing? Well, this is.
Yeah.
Wearing a Brave the Woods hat. You can buy them for $29.99 on.
Yeah.
Another thing related to that, related to the responding to people, was when I did the challenge, because it's so funny, man, because when you don't care, sometimes that's when things become more authentic. And so I started writing the post beneath the pictures, and the pictures took me so much time that by the time I wrote the post, I just wrote off the top of my head at like midnight. So I was just going off saying whatever I wanted. And I was just really honest. I wasn't trying to please anyone. I wasn't trying to convince anyone of anything. And those got such big responses. So I would say don't stifle what you really want to say.
Or indeed stifle it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stifle. Stifle?
Stifle?
Oh, wait. I'm looking at a wiffle ball. I think this is confusing me. Because it says wiffle. I meant stifle.
For God's sake, don't whiffle it either. That'd be a nightmare.
Don't whiffle it either. But just say what you want to say. Whoa, that's like a song. Anyways, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Don't hold back.
Don't hold back.
Cool. So Lisa's next tip is do a video on how to use a non-common tool. So kind of what we talked about with hacks and stuff like that, but the stuff where it is rarely something someone might be exposed to. And I'm going to double up for Lisa here. Actually, she's basically ripping you off, Ian. I think she might have glanced at your worksheet beforehand.
For sure.
Do a quote type of post that shows a real life, funny or helpful interaction with a client. Helpful could be boundary setting, pushing back with a fee, etc., etc. So instead of like the inspirational, like just believe to succeed, like all that kind of stuff you see on Instagram, you can riff on it and make it something that's more relatable, especially more relevant for designers. Like you guys saw the one I did about feeling like a bag of on Instagram, right? When I was sick. And that got quite a lot of engagement because it's like taking the piss out of a known format, which is normally just meaningless, mundane quotes.
It did look good.
Thanks, mate. Right, back to you, Maestro.
So error messages in real life. So,
oh yeah.
So you go to like, go and use your car, and it says, "Sorry, your car has unexpectedly quit. Would you like to restart?" And so you walk in, and then you just do like, you record it where you record, you put it up, and then you cut out the bit where you put the error message into your car or something, or on the windscreen, and then so it looks like
so you've like printed it out. You mean?
Yeah. So you actually got a printed version on a bit of card, and then you walk in there, it goes, and you actually use the sound as well. That sort of dong. You get when an error message comes up as well. So add that to the video. It's not particularly hard. You can do it on your phone. Just cut out the bit where so it looks like you get in the car, you go to start it, and it's like bing, error message. Or you're going to like a vending machine, and it says unable. Like there's the error message where, it's unable to save this thing.
That's awesome. So silly,
and that would
awesome.
make a really you could do little ones, and that can make a YouTube video as well of like the best ones.
Little compilation. I like it.
But that would be really cool. I did it once for like my pen, where I was using a brush pen, and then all of a sudden it went bing, and there was like an error message saying, "Oh no, it wasn't an error message. It said this pen needs to be upgraded to the latest software." Just stuck on the side of it, and I couldn't press anything.
I remember that.
So yeah, just do like error messages or corrupt files.
What's next?
Is it back on me or someone else?
Back on you. Let's do 2 or 3 each.
Okay. So following on from that like video thing is designers at a party. So if all you could do at a party was speak like a designer, or like the sort of terminology that you use, how you can speak
as a video.
As a video. So
I know what you mean. Did you see there was a viral video where it was like if a conference call was in real life, and so they'd keep getting it where a guy's seat would like he'd disappear because his connection kept dropping. Like that kind of thing, and like a guy couldn't get in the room because he didn't know the password to join the conference call. Have you never seen this? It was very well done.
No.
But do you mean that kind of thing where it's just like a comedy?
Yeah, I suppose you could. Yeah, like someone asks you a question, and then you're silent for like 5 minutes. That's too long, but you're silent for an awkward period of time. You go, "I'm sorry for my delay," and go back to you, which is like all my emails, so someone asks you just a normal question, like, like, how are you? And then you go off on like Pantones watches or something.
I really I like this. I'd almost want to see it as a designer and a client. So they're in a room having an interaction, and then they could have the thing of like they reject the price, the client does, and then it cuts back to the designer and just has like an awkwardly long pause, and they're like really sweating or something, and then just try and come back with like a calm response and the whole interaction with that.
And then you film it, so it's like the eyes are like looking, sort of like seeing the emotion in the eyes. Oh, what you could do is do like a standoff, like a Western, like to Mickey take, where you're like, you're doing the is it the duel, where you got the guns, but instead of guns, you've got like
quick draw, yeah.
I know you got a mouse, and you've got I know something else, and they've got the invoice in theirs, like.
Nice. Or like they say something you don't like, and then you're kind of facing each other, and you just get a vase and smash it on the wall in anger, but then you respond like perfectly calmly, when you freak out, but then have to say, like,
could you change this for us? And you're like
damn it, and then you're like, I'm sorry, yeah, of course, I'd be happy to make revision number 7 for you.
You could do the designer Hulk, couldn't you? Like someone's, they get an email and then suddenly they go green and go, it makes me so bad.
Exactly. And it's worth saying, for this episode, obviously don't go and try every tip. You need to work out what excites you as an idea and what fits with your character and your personality, because there could be 3 listeners out there that go and do like the next College Humor video channel based around quirky, geeky design stuff, and it blows up because it's so specific to designers. But that's going to be someone who's maybe quite extroverted and loves making videos and just has loads of energy and comes off well on camera and is naturally quite funny or whatever. If there's someone who's a bit more quiet and introspective and philosophical, maybe they're doing some of the stuff Dustin talks about, where it's like sharing your authentic story and really opening up and sharing vulnerabilities and that kind of stuff. So there is 100 different ways to do this, and that's kind of the point of this episode. Take the stuff which stands out to you.
Yeah, and you and your personality type.
Exactly. You don't want to be there as the Green Hulk if you're hating every minute, rather than finding it a hilarious video project.
This has been so good. So, as most people probably don't know, I wasn't there last week, so I didn't actually understand exactly what we were doing this week until right before we started. So now that I'm hearing it go, I'm starting to realize, there was a little more behind this. You guys have fantastic ideas. Mine were not as fleshed out, and I think I didn't really completely understand. But now I'm really excited because I've heard these and they're so good. I'm like, dude, we, and by we I mean Ian and Tom, should pitch a book to a publisher with ideas like this, because I feel like people would love this. But I will share too. I feel for me, sometimes the best ones I've seen are ones that I know from people that I've seen do.
Yeah.
So I'm good friends with Von Glitchka, who's a vector artist. I think he calls himself a design illustrator or something like that, or illustrative designer. Anyways, he does 2 things that I love, and he has quite a bit of followers that are really interacting with him. One is he treats it like comedy, in the sense that, people are always like, oh, it's comedy, like it's funny because it's true. He leverages that in the sense that he's very obsessive about tracking problems with things. So for instance, every time Illustrator crashes, he documents the crash, the time of the crash, the reason of the crash, what he was doing when the crash happened. And then he's very vocal about going onto Twitter and tagging Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. And granted, this is a guy that is on their panel. Like, I mean, he's a beta tester. He meets with these people. He knows them, but he also calls them out. So he calls out all the things that everyone is frustrated about by Illustrator, but maybe they don't want to say. So he'll be like, hey, Illustrator guys, great job again on crashing this blah, blah, blah thing. We've been like asking for this to be fixed for 3 years. And he gets so many likes and so many responses because everyone is thinking that and no one is saying it. In fact,
he's like a spokesman.
Exactly. Like he's like a spokesperson for everybody. He's like part of the union of designers that are upset about something from Adobe. In fact, he went to a conference, I think it was Adobe Max, and he saw the engineers on the way down to a thing where they were going to be answering questions. And when they saw him, they were like, hey, can you please not bring up this one bug or like error, because we haven't fixed it yet and we really don't want to have to have you confront us when we're up there.
Oh, no.
So anyways, I think that's brilliant that he does that. So I guess like get your own neuroticism and like use it to your advantage on social media. And the second thing that Vaughn also did that I thought was great is I had went and recorded that LinkedIn course that we were talking about, and they told me a story about Vaughn. And so apparently he'd get very hot a lot of times when they were recording him. And so he'd asked for a bottle of water. And when he got the water, it was in one of those super thin plastic water bottles that are flexible. And when he opened it and went to take a drink, just by slightly squeezing, the whole thing just exploded out the top onto his face. And he had like, you have makeup on your face they put on to get it looking right? So it got all over his clothes and all over his face. It just causes a whole disruption in the day. And most people be like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, whatever. Instead, he went to the director and was like, can you make sure they edit that part and send me a cut of it? And he got the cut of that, and then he shared it on social as a way to promote his course. But I mean, it's such a perfect promotion of it because it's just funny anyways.
That's amazing. I love that. Okay, so I haven't got anything nearly that good. But I would say do a post encouraging your followers to network with each other in your comments. So if you say, guys, like my comments are your comments, literally go and meet each other, see how you can help each other, and all just chat in the comments and see what connections you can make. Can be quite a powerful community builder. I would say definitely try doing a post on various versions of your design, whether that is an actual post where you say leave it in the comments, or you do a poll on Instagram stories or whatever. But I see this all the time where it's like, do you prefer version A or version B? Let me know. And you can kind of, let your audience help shape it. I would also say kind of two things on top of that. Let your users guide your content. So you could take one poll, but actually turn that into 5 to 10 polls throughout an entire project. So each stage, it kind of the direction changes based on the feedback. And so it ends up in a totally different place than it would have down this kind of organic path with your users feeling like they're actually part of the process. They're almost like helping to creatively direct it or whatever. And you can just do it for fun. It doesn't have to be with a client project or anything that high pressured. And yeah, I think as doing that, people will start to tune in each day. And I've seen a few of these where someone works on something for like a week or two, and every day they post a little update. So you're getting involved, you're voting on which one you like, you see the whole thing iterate and evolve, and you see the shiny polished outcome. And normally you would only see the outcome. So to be part of the whole process through it is pretty awesome. Shall I do one of Lisa's? Maybe. We don't want to leave out dear Lisa.
I felt like we let you down by giving you this awkward silence.
Yeah, I know. It was like, and crickets.
Sorry.
It's all good, man. So I love this one. I was going to write this one, and then I saw Lisa had it. Show a behind the scenes of your office and workspace. Whether this is like a little photo album or a short video or Instagram stories, people love that insight because normally they just see the polished results. And so that insight into your world can be really, really powerful. And also, Lisa said, share how you like to unwind or recharge creatively. Probably a lot of coffee posts.
Okay, here, I got to ask about this because I've noticed a lot of these things coming up from you guys. I'm assuming most of these would be for stories or Twitter because a lot of it, I feel like if you were to put it into Instagram, it would really make your Instagram feed look kind of crazy.
Totally depends. With Ian, maybe, if it's like 999 posts of a piece of lettering and then his face pops up being like, I enjoy a warm bath on Sunday afternoons, then yeah, that might be kind of weird. But I think some people can like weave that stuff together. So, on Tuesdays, you're going to get a hack. On Wednesdays, you're going to get something more personal. On Fridays, you'll get a live tutorial.
I feel like I did that 100 days and now it's all solid illustrations. And if like I was to put like, here's how I unwind and then like a picture of a kombucha, like it would just be like, yeah. It would be blasphemy on my Instagram.
Well,
I feel like I shattered it.
Exactly.
If it's rough and ready, it's normally reserved for Instagram stories now because that's where I think it suits it best. It's like the behind the scenes.
But you can weave it in, right? Like Ian, if your unwinding was a coffee, for example, you could letter the word coffee and put it in the description, the context of it's important to unwind, guys, and here's how I unwind. Dustin, same thing. You could illustrate a coffee mug.
Like I would make sure that was I'd got a nice cup of coffee to photograph. I'd have, strategically placed pencils and pens and, stuff like that. So it looked like a good post rather than just me in a badly lit coffee shop drinking a cup of coffee.
No, I mean, like you would,
okay.
Like you could do an overhead shot of you lettering the word coffee or recharge or something like that and have coffee dotted around that.
Yeah. So, like that. Yeah, that's a good example of weaving that you do, it's taking these and putting it into your context. So, maybe you don't do lettering. Maybe you do websites. You could do a mock-up of a website of you relaxing. So do you know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, and you could elaborate the stories.
You could do like a nicely mock-upped website for the Instagram main feed with you relaxing in it, but it looks like it's a website for a client or a website you produced. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then you explain in the description.
Yeah, 100%. Dustin, or actually, I think I'm going to go after Ian, just so I'm not then.
I haven't beaten
Lisa
yet
as well. Oh, sorry, I thought. Okay, go on.
I was just commenting to you on yours.
No, back to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Go on.
I don't know if anyone's done this, but designer cakes, as in making cakes of stuff you use like on a computer. So, maybe of like the pen tool, or of
wait, put that onto a cake.
Yeah.
Have you gone mad? Have you gone mad?
Why?
British terms.
What like you make a cake in the shape of the pen tool icon. That wouldn't be that hard, would it? You just make you make a sponge cake, like a round sponge cake, and then you just get a sharp knife and you shape it and you make it white, and then you put some black icing around the edges.
Oh,
this is why you have 300,000 Instagram followers. I feel like you've gone a little bit mad.
I think you have to.
But again, I think fit it into what you like, right? So if you're a designer who happens to love making cakes, great. I couldn't make a cake at all to save my life, so I won't be doing that one. But if you're
friend
into,
to help you though, use your friends who are good at cake making.
Well, I was going to say, like, you could be into just making savory food. So maybe you do like a beautifully arranged like Buddha bowl, which is in. I
wasn't being savorist. Okay, another one would be trying. What if fonts were people? So, what would you be if you were Comic Sans and say maybe you put some labels on and it's like a gathering and you're like hi, I'm Comic Sans, and you're like sort of shouty and everyone
or you
likes
just get a really ugly bloke to be Comic Sans. And everyone's like ignoring them.
But he's always invited to the party.
Yeah.
and then you have like a boring font. It's like, hello, my name is, and so you do a little skit, in a little sort of little example of that, or use it in the same vein. Maybe try and make Comic Sans cool. Or you have like a clothing line based around it, or something like that.
So again, there's different extremes here. If you went high end, you'd have like a full setup of lighting and actors and outfits and blah, blah, blah. That would be like the College Humor kind of level of budget. But I see stuff like this all the time where on Instagram, someone just records 5 impressions they've done of celebrities and cuts that together into a 60-second video. And it's literally them doing it, holding it on their phone. So it could be something that quick where you're just impersonating what fonts would sound like if they're people. And that would take you like 10 minutes.
Yeah. It really does depend on who you are. So like with Ian, I feel like if it was not super polished and it was put on, like you said, onto your main Instagram feed, what do you call it? Is it called a feed?
Yep.
Yeah. Like it would be weird. But like, I also like think about my buddy Aaron Seacrest from OK Pants. And he just does random stuff like with no special lighting or anything. He has this really charismatic, really funny presence. He does stand-up comic as like a hobby. And it's very loose. He's a fantastic designer, but he just has a really raw style of putting stuff out there. And it works for him. It would be weird if it was overly produced, I think.
Yeah. And again, like we say, produce it in your style rather than, it's the idea is just generic, and then you can just just riffing off that, and I've already done 2, is like doing really bad ideas. like really awkward bad ideas.
Like this episode.
Yeah. Like doing a series of stuff that's so bad it's laughable. And trying.
Are you talking about like the latte art?
No, because I know that it's bad. But like, I'm not.
I thought that's the idea that you called it like bad latte art.
I suppose you could do, but it's like that's because I'm bad at doing it. But I'm thinking that you might be a good designer, but you do do a sort of tongue-in-cheek sort of like, I sent this to the client, what do you think? And it's like using clip art from the 90s and, all
we
all
did
the
that on April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Where it was like, here's our latest design bundle, and it was all like rainbow gradients and Comic Sans and people really engaged with that and found it funny. And you could make it a regular series. So if you're a font designer, you could be like, it's Hideous Font Friday, and I christen this like, I don't know, Quasimodo or something.
Yeah, you could do like trying to be serious of like, I've just upgraded to the latest system software, and you do it. It's like black and white, and it's like Windows, the first edition of Windows. It's taking something and like try to be serious, but everyone is going to see through it. It's not, and that's the sort of funniness comes in.
I like it.
Hopefully, otherwise people are going to go,
they'll be like, what? As there were so many ideas generated for this week's episode, we've decided to pick this conversation back up next week where we complete our lists. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. We hope that these social media tips will help you to develop a better feed around your creative work and build a truly engaged audience. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com or find us over on iTunes by searching for The Honest Designers Show. And remember, we're now on social media too if you search for Honest Designers. If today's episode helped you, then it would mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is still one of the best ways for other designers to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.